Good morning, everybody. Oren J here to talk to you today about Triangle Strategy, a new strategy RPG from Square Enix that I just finished my very first playthrough on. And before I get into the pluses, the minuses, the nitty-gritty specifics, I want to say, if you're a fan of old school strategy RPGs, Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, Fire Emblem, for especially like the the portable Fire Emblem games, I think you'll love this game. If you have access to a Switch, or you're thinking about picking up a Switch to play this game, I would say go for it. If those games were your jam, this game is also going to be your jam. But let's talk about the game more specifically now, because this is a review video, and I'm here to review it. I want to start with a positive. Because I liked the game so much, let's start on a high note. There are low notes coming. There's some things I think the developers kind of messed up on. But let's start with the highs. And the number one high in this game is combat. If you've watched any other review on this game, if you've watched any YouTube videos, seen tweets, whatever about this game, people have probably been just raving about how great the combat was. I played the game on hard. And look, on hard, if you're up for strategy, if you want your decisions to actually matter in a fight, play this game on hard. Your decisions matter a lot. It takes many of the elements of other strategy RPGs, uses them, but also adds its own layer of complexity and its unique things to this game. Where your units stand in a fight, on a map, etc. felt more impactful to me in this game than in any other strategy RPG I've ever played. Elemental effects, pawns, puddles on the ground, it's raining, one of your units makes it rain. That would matter so much. I ruined 45-minute long fights, which the fights in this game are hella long, but you're super engaged and it's super awesome that they're that long. I'd be in a fight, and I have a unit standing in a body of water, but another one of my units actually made it rain, and there's a puddle, and that puddle connects to the body of water, and I cast a lightning bolt on a person standing in a puddle, and I wipe my group. And I was like, uh-oh. Facepalm. Oh my, okay, well, I guess we're restarting. And oof. Now, if you did mess up, a cool thing that this game does that other games don't do, you just hit retry fight. All the experience that you earned from that battle, all the loot you picked up, actually carries with you into the next fight. And that's a really good way of the game preventing you from falling behind the power curve. You will level up, lose, and then play again at the level that you're at. There's not a lot of ways to play fights in this game. There are farmable missions, but they're a thing I'll talk about later. You can't actually replay the story fights unless you lose. Then you can replay them, and sometimes I would just have to do that to clear them. Worth it every time. I loved the combat in this game. Okay, 10 out of 10. I'm going to give the combat a 10 out of 10. I'm going to move on and talk about the next thing, and that's the story in this game. Also really well done. I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. I was regularly engaged. I cared about my characters. I cared about the world. I really wanted to see how the choices I made impacted the game. And that's a huge theme in this game, by the way. The choices you make. Not just with how you advance the story, but you're actually given a fairly limited amount of money and resources, unless you just want to spend way too much time farming a bunch of side stories that are not worth it. The choices you make in which characters you level up matter a lot. It matters a lot. And that was cool. Choice being such an integral part of this game really made me feel like the choices I made mattered. And in so many RPGs, you have options. Like you can say option A, option B, option C, and maybe you'll get a little bit different dialogue because you did that. In this game, it completely changes the path your party is going down. You end up in different parts of the world. You end up killing people you might not otherwise have killed. There was one part in this game I had to fight a member of my party 1v1 because I just couldn't agree with the things that this person was saying so much that they said, that's enough, I'm going to fight you to try and convince you. And I had to pound some sense into this person. No spoilers, but that's the impact that your choices have. The ending I got in this game, by the way, was not the perfect ending. But do you know what? I love the ending I got in this game. I love it. Some unfortunate things happened to my party because of the choices that I made. But ultimately, I was like, yeah, I totally get it. This is the path I was going down. If this is the outcome from that path, okay. But I also want to get the golden ending, the perfect ending, whatever. And I see now the choices I could have made to get there. So when I replay in New Game Plus, boom, I'll knock it out of the park. We'll do that one and it'll be great. Like, the story's so good. It's so good, you'll love it if you're a fan of RPGs. So, if the story's good and the combat's good, what could be wrong about this game? The pacing. The way they put the story and the combat together. It just didn't flow. It didn't flow to me. You would do a fight, and these fights, like I said, would oftentimes take an hour, 2 hours, depending on how many times you had to retry them. There's one particular fight where I had the option of essentially becoming an arsonist to beat the enemy units. I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. It took me 4 hours to beat that fight without burning things to the ground. That's amazing. I felt so good for pulling that off, and awesome. But then you go into like 90 minutes of story after a fight, and that feels bad. The story's so good that I was able to get through it, but I'll just say, if the story had been a little bit worse, if I would have been less engaged in the story, there's no way I would have made it through this game. No way. As much as I like the combat, I was sitting there just watching too much story. It would get repetitive sometimes. The narrator would say something that then the characters would have a conversation about the thing the narrator just said, or vice versa. And I was like, I know, I get it. And then you would go into these exploration phases. Part of the story, but kind of a unique, different part of the story that tried to break up the monotony. And it was cool, but you'd get to talk to NPCs you otherwise wouldn't get to talk to. You could find some items, but it just felt like, yeah, come on, let's go. Like, I get it. You're giving me some, I can use the controller again, which is nice. I do want to play a video game, not watch a movie, but I want to fight. This is a strategy RPG. I want to battle. So there just was too much time in between battles. It works because the story's so good. It works because you're so invested in the characters, and it works because the payoff is the battle, and the battle was so awesome. So that's both the best and the worst things about the game, in my opinion. Combat story, really good. Just the way it was pieced together, not so much so. And then the little side exploration things you could do were neat. To give you an example, I often found myself skipping the side character stories, even though I cared about those characters, because I just could sense a battle was on the horizon. Okay, let's talk about the cast of characters that you get in this game. The main cast of characters. These are the people that vote when you're making a choice, when you bring out the scales and you have to pick a path. I thought they were really good. Let's take Frederica, for example, the main female character in the game. When you first meet her, you're like, oh, I get it. She's a stereotypical character who her siblings are mean to her because she's not a real part of the family, and she's got pink hair, and she's going to be all meek, and they're going to roll over on her, and you're going to have to build her up through No, that's dead wrong. Her siblings are mean to her, and she basically tells them to shut up and get out of my face. And I was like, damn, okay. She's a princess, and she knows she's a princess. Great! She's not the trope of a character that you get in a lot of other games, and I was immediately invested into that character. Serenoa, the main character, he loses a little bit of his agency because so much of the game is like democratic, where everybody votes and you do the thing you vote for, but the way you can try to convince people to get on your side was really cool. And in fact, Serenoa has a hidden stat called conviction. You see a little box pop up in the screen that says conviction leveled up, and actually there's 3 different stats in there. On your first playthrough, you don't actually see what conviction stat, whether it's like the morality one or the pragmatic one or the there's another one, but you don't actually see which one of those is leveling up. You just have to hit certain checkpoints to like unlock side characters or convince people to take the paths in the game that you want them to take. It's really cool because it gives some depth to a main character that otherwise has no agency in decision making. You actually have a ton if your conviction is high enough that you can convince people to do your thing. It's unique, it's clever, and I actually really liked it. The rest of the main cast, loved some of them, hated some of them, and I really enjoyed hating certain ones. Benedict. I enjoyed hating you, Benedict, throughout the whole game. Anyway, no spoilers. No spoilers. Just F you, Benedict. Not for the reason you think. Anyway, okay. That aside, let's talk about the side characters. My main combat party was mostly composed of side characters. They are all very different with what they can do in combat, and the way I did combat was very different than the way anybody else I talked to did combat. I was all about setting traps with these two characters I called the Trap Bros, and I leveled up all my mages as much as I could and just rained magic down on the enemy. I ran around maps, I used clever movement, trap placement to kite. Such a fun way to play a strategy RPG. I didn't just play front to back with thick boys in the front, getting heals and then shooting over the top. No, I laid traps. I used elements. It was so fun. And you don't have to play the way I did. You can play many different ways, and the side characters are kind of the key to that. They unlock so much of it. Now, as far as them as being well-developed personalities in the game, it's kind of left to the side stories that you can unlock for them. And like I said, I kind of ended up skipping those a lot because I was so ready to move on to combat. So the pacing kind of hurt them a little bit. They do hang out in your encampment, and so you can talk to them there. But again, I was kind of ready to get back to combat. So I'll still give them like an 8 out of 10. Their uniqueness in combat was really great. In fact, all the characters' uniqueness in combat was really great. I wish some of them could have been involved in the decision making. Like, you would meet a character that might be an old retired ex-general from the nation you're currently at war with, and you're like, man, this might be a good person to ask about strategy while we fight his hometown. Nope. Apparently he's got nothing to say about it, so, just forget about him. Let's convince Benedict to vote the way we want him to, and good luck with that. Benedict aside, the characters of this game were really good, and even the ones that you hate, even the ones that you think are developing down a certain path, oftentimes completely flip-flop on you. That was my deal with Roland, the prince in the game, your best friend. That dude was not who he did not end up the way I thought he did. And I also know if I would have made different choices, he would have ended up a different person. So your choices not only impact the story, but the development of your characters. Awesome job there. All right, overall, before I do overall, art style. This is an easy 10 out of 10. Barely need to even say anything here. HD 2D graphics, super good. The way the high quality water mixes with the cool sprites. Look, graphics are a 10 out of 10. If you dig HD 2D, you'll dig this. I don't have to say a bunch there. Overall score, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It would have gotten a better score had the pacing issues been solved, but overall, loved the story, loved the combat, loved all the unique new things that were brought into a genre that I already love. 8.5, highly recommend. And that's it. Look, if you want to watch my playthroughs, I have a Let's Play series. It's almost fully uploaded to YouTube at this time. Link will be in the description there. And thank you guys for watching this video. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Peace.